Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss After Earth, starring Jaden Smith, Will Smith, Zoe Isabella Kravitz, and Sophie Okonedo, and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Now, I remember seeing this opening night in theaters, and I don't know what to think from back then, but right now, let's get into the movie and I'll show you what I mean about my opinion's sakes. We start off with people dying on a ship, and Cypher, played by Will Smith, and Katai Rage, played by Jaden Smith, almost get killed on by a shipwreck. Or shipwreckage, excuse me very much, on planet Earth. Which is a strange sequence to be opening this movie on. And I've always liked Will Smith as an actor in such movies as... And I even enjoyed him on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I've also liked him even in horror movies, for example. But his son, Jaden Smith, and I've only liked him in another Will Smith property in this particular movie I'm talking about. But with movies like these remakes, for example, if I were to be honest, I find myself not a fan of Jaden Smith as much, because he just doesn't have the charisma like his dad does. But my problem with this performance is he's too whiny, like he's half destroying this movie, and the other half is M. Night directing these people so poorly. And we go back 3 days earlier that Cypher comes home after Katai doesn't succeed in the finals, and Faya Rage, who's Cypher's wife and Katai's mother, and played by Sophie Okonedo, who I've seen in these couple of movies, for example. And I like her as an actress, but that scene at the dinner table when Katai asks to leave the table and Cypher shouts, "Denied! Sit down!" was rather an odd and random scene. And honestly, M. Night is directing these people so poorly. I can't get a read on any of these, anyone's faces. Like, none whatsoever. Faya asks Cypher to make some good memories with Katai after she did nothing at the dinner table. Oh my god. And next thing you know, she says to him he needs a father, and Cypher takes Katai on a very dangerous mission. And to me, I'm not a parent, but taking your kid to one of those like dangerous missions, that's bad parenting for both Cypher and Faya, in my opinion. I mean, I get why, but come on. Katai has memories of his sister Senshi, played by Zoe Kravitz, I'm going to call her here, because her middle name is in the credits, and she dies by those alien creatures I never get the name of, that I never get, and damn, I don't even care. He thinks it's his fault for letting her die, Katai I'm talking about, and I thought, dude, just get over it. And we get these flashbacks again and again, and I think M. Night needs to read Filmmaking for Dummies, because this is bad storytelling. Katai arrives on Earth, and we get a shot, M. Night does, but something tells me he wanted to hide all the badness of this movie, because it was distracting when the airbag is going back and forth, and Katai finds Cypher lying on the ground injured. And how did Cypher survive that? That's where you got me, because it was very unrealistic. What's with the things that Katai bites down and breathes to get oxygen for a science fiction world? I want to know the rules of how everything works. For example, Star Wars. We know there are spaceships, Wookiees, and robots, and it's a fantasy world. And we know who's good and evil from the very beginning. Avatar. When you breathe in the Na'vi world as a human, you die, and last but not least, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when it's in the same world And we get explained at the beginning of the Avengers of what the Chitauri are. And movies later, we lead up to the real villain behind that plot. Here, this is badly written, badly directed, and we don't know how this whole freaking world it works. And that's a problem with M. Night's science fiction movie. Kitai finds a baboon and throws a rock at them, or at first, and then they just start gaining up. And Cypher tells him to stand down, but Kitai throws it anyways, because he's too stupid to know that if you harm a baboon, they'll harm you back. And honestly, Kitai bugged me throughout this entire movie. I was annoyed by Jaden Smith's acting. And I already said this earlier, and I wonder if this is the movie that ended his career, because I feel bad for him. This performance gets very poor by this point. Kitai gets to the river, and Cypher orders him to abort the mission because one of the breathing things breaks, and Kitai has a meltdown and argues with Cypher about Senshi's death and what he should have done. And that is the Razzie clip should be for Jaden Smith, and that would have ended his career. I must confess that now, because come on, that's a bad line. Kitai gets captured by a bird and is almost fed to the baby birds, and then lions come in, or maybe they're tigers, I don't know what the hell they were, and to kill the baby birds, and Kitai tries to save the baby birds but doesn't succeed, which what was the point of that was my problem. About 10 minutes later into the movie, the same bird saves Kitai by keeping him warm when it was cold out there, and I thought, how nice of that bird, and it felt a little cliche, unfortunately. Kitai makes himself a little canoe and falls asleep and sees Senshi in his dream, and she whispers something in his ear, and I thought, what in the hell is she saying? And she tells Kitai to wake up while telling her what he read on the book that they keep bringing back again and again. They got when she was alive, called Moby Dick. The whale Moby Dick, otherwise. And her dead face makeup, ooh, that looked so bad in a terrible dream sequence. Kitai finds the tail of the ship that crash landed, and the next thing you know, he finds those things that he bites and breathes on and takes two, which was rather worthless, but hey, there's more where that came from. And finds a way to contact Cypher, but it's in a black zone. And when Kitai takes a knee and the camera faces the volcano, that's a great shot, I'll give it that point. But he has to go to the mountain and get the thing that will cure Cypher in some way to communicate with him. Kitai faces off the alien thing, and it looks fake. And how did Kitai make it out? I don't know, and I don't care. I was checked out of this movie at that point. And Kitai and Cypher say they want to work with Fea. At this point, and crew members pick up Kitai and Cypher, and this movie is over for me. Which I was glad, because this movie was annoying me by the end of the day. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 2.0 out of 10. This is bad, but not as bad as The Last Airbender in next week's movie, The Visit. And I'll explain why I think The Visit is so bad next week, but here, I'm going to just spoil it. The Visit is really bad, and I'll talk about why next week, but here it looked like science fiction for dummies for M. Night. The acting is bad, the story is horrible, and I wanted this thing to end 10-20 minutes earlier than it did. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and I will explain to you next week why The Visit was horrible. And until next time, don't make any more sci-fi movies, M. Night.